the one market it worked best on was the Swiss franc. And no surprise, the single year it worked best on was the year in the example. So the author had kind of found the one market for the 1 year where this particular approach worked best. Now, if you did the approach on a diversified portfolio, if I recall correctly, I think it lost money. But the one example looked phenomenal, and this happens all the time. People write books. They'll write books on charts and technical analysis and all this stuff, and they'll show you examples of how it worked. When I did the complete guide and when I did the follow-up years later, the Schwager on Future series, I went out of my way to choose examples where things didn't work. In fact, I had a big section of the book where I took trades I was recommending as a director of futures research, and I took a whole segment of trades that I'd recommended as they were, and some were winners and some were losers. And basically, I didn't cherry pick. I just took them, and I didn't try to make the winners more or losers. I was just kind of demonstrating what were the right choices, what were the wrong choices. And I went out of my way to show things that didn't work. I went out of my way to actually point out when I did classical chart analysis that these patterns, well, it's good to know them, and it's good to know how they work more often than not, or how people expect them to work, or how you could theoretically use them. But also be clear that there's lots of times that they don't work out well. And in fact, what I call the most important rule in technical analysis is actually a failure rule. It's basically that when a chart pattern fails, that is a signal in itself, and it's a more important signal than when you get a chart pattern that seems to be confirmed. So I always spent a lot of time trying to make sure that people understood that don't just take anything because this example works. Don't jump to any conclusions. You always have to test everything on a broad portfolio over a broad number of years, but almost all books, almost all articles don't do that. They just take things that work, and they allow the reader to jump to the conclusion that this thing is really the best thing invented, and when it's really not.
Yeah, I'm really glad you sort of went into that in so much detail, Jack. I think it's a really important point. But let's move this along a little bit. So I'm keen to hear a bit more about what you're working on these days. I know you're keeping busy with Fund Seeder, as well as been working on some indicators with TradeShark. But let's start with Fund Seeder. So give us an overview of what this is all about and how this platform is helping traders to improve.